Good morning. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole. This is January the 14th, 2025. We're starting a new year. I'd like to welcome everybody and the guests in the audience and to say Happy New Year. Also, I'd like to remind everybody in the audience that we are being recorded, so therefore make sure that you don't answer your phones and make sure your phones are off because we are conducting a meeting and we will continue on. Here we go. Roll call. Let's start. District 1.
President Crahan Parsons also.
District 2, Jesse Hare.
District 3, Dustin Enslow.
District 4, Charles Cranston.
District 5, Lynn Longmire.
District 6, John Welch.
District 7, Ted Egenbart.
District 8, Niall Hardy.
District 9, Gidget Oxner.
District 10, Brian Vazicano.
District 11 is me, Diane LeBlanc. We are going to go to any disclosures of interest before we move on to the agenda. Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I have a conflict of interest for item 6.8,
Me.
the Joint Police Advisory Committee as an employee of the RC.
Okay, is there any other disclosure of interest?
8.2 as well.
8.2, sorry.
Well, I thought we were doing that when we go in.
You can't do it in camera, you have to do it public.
Okay, yeah. Oh, it's listed there, sorry, yeah. As well as 8.2. Yeah.
Perfect, so 6.8 and 8.2. Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. Councilor Parsons.
I'm going to call a conflict of interest with 8.2 as well.
Okay, 8.2 for Councilor Parsons. Lawson. Okay, we are looking at the approval of the order of the day. Do we have any questions or comments of the order of the day? No?
The presentation.
Are we doing anything with this one? I see that Dawn is coming up to chat with you.
Sorry. I'm going to ask for joint police board to be done before the council.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah.
Okay.
I had to understand what we were talking about. Can we just move 6.8? Can we move that up to
Before 6.1?
before 6.1? Yeah.
Okay.
Just do that one first.
So we will just move 6.8 to the top.
6.1 and then just make 6.1, 6.8?
We'll just go from 6.8 and go 6.1. Does that work?
Whatever you'd like, Madam Chairperson. I'm just trying to make it simple.
Follow the order then. Okay, so, and that's any other changes? So we will approve the order of the day with the minor change unanimously? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now we need the approval of the minutes of 2024 December 10th for the regular committee of the whole. Are there any corrections or questions or comments on any on the minutes? Seeing none, we will approve the minutes as they are. Okay. So we are going to go into 6.1. Oh no, 6.8, which is on page 95. We'll start with the Joint Police Advisory Board. Deputy Warden is gone. And, we'll read the motion. We'll read the motion. And then we'll
Someone has to make a motion.
You will read the motion. Could our Councillor Welch, could you read the motion?
I move Municipal Council approve the terms of reference for the Annapolis County Joint Police Advisory Board.
We need a seconder. Councillor Parsons Osmond as the seconder. And we have Madame Dawn Parker, I believe, Campbell. That's it, Parker. To give an explanation.
Confusion by association. I would explain that we asked to change the order on this because if this is a recommendation to go to council, it will have an impact on making a minor change in the council procedures policy that's coming up later on the agenda, because it means that Police Advisory Board would change from a standing committee of council to a joint or regional. And so we may as well not have to go through two processes to just make that minor change. We'll just accommodate it according to what your decision is on this matter that's before you.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
And just to clarify, so right now, the county has a police advisory board, the town of Milton has their own police advisory board. The staff sergeant goes to both meetings, gives the exact same report, and so on and so forth. This just streamlines it for the RCMP, streamlines it for us. Because all of our issues are similar. The criminals don't go by geographic boundaries.
No, they don't.
They go where they want to commit their crime. So it just makes more sense. We keep the same amount of representatives. We have 2 elected officials as well as 2 community representatives. Middleton will have the same way, and then just to be one appointed from the province. So we don't lose anything. We just meet once every quarter. Typically, we'll just meet together as opposed to meeting separately.
All right. Are there any questions or comments for Madame Campbell or the CAO? Or are there any comments or questions on the terms of reference? Seeing none.
I'll just make a comment, if I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
I think this just goes hand in hand with the initiative of doing all the other joint things that we're trying to accommodate with the towns of Annapolis, Royal, and Middleton. I think this just goes along with it. Seems like a reasonable proposal to me.
Yes. Thank you very much for that comment.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No? We'll move to the question, and all in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Against, no? Motion passed. Councillor Hardy, you should go see our deputy warden.
You can always-
He should be up. Could yell at him. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Madam Campbell. So now we're going back to 6.1, page 19. I need someone to read the motion to do with the repeal of different bylaws that were in Bridgetown. So, Councillor Welsh.
I move to recommend the municipal council give first reading to bylaw 3, repeal of Bridgetown skateboarding bylaw and Bridgetown smoking control bylaw.
Thank you. I need a seconder. Councillor Adler. Are there any questions or comments for this discussion on the bylaws? No? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Against? No? Motion approved. Okay, let's move on to municipal boundary, page 26. We have a request for a decision. Staff are requesting direction from council as to how we wish to move on and proceed with further public input options or different options for feedback on the number of councillors and municipal electoral districts boundaries, as well as the proposed number of councillors in 2028. So every 8 years we have a new ARB in a discussion on boundaries. I'll let you just, if you wish, CAO, a few words on this.
Sure. So as the Warden LeBlanc said, the we're required by legislation every 8 years to conduct a review of the electoral districts for the municipality. Every municipality in the province is required to go through the same process. Any changes that are made aren't in effect until the next election, so the changes that you saw in the most recent one came into effect for this election that you see today, or for the elected officials that are around the table today. Any changes we make going forward, if we were to make changes next year, it doesn't come into effect until 2028, so it doesn't change anybody's current seat. So when we presented the electoral boundary report back in 2023, it was approved as submitted by the Nova Scotia Utility Review Board, which is the provincial government body that reviews them and decides yes or no. But as part of that approval, they indicated that we had to go through another review in 2025 with more concerted or more detailed public consultation. There were several people from the public who came forward at the public hearing regarding boundaries and suggested that council didn't necessarily listen to the public feedback. There's a public survey, there was some other consultation that took place, and the results came back were very mixed. So the question became, do we need to do more public consultations, what the URB has indicated, in order to get a clearer picture as to what the public wants. The URB only has jurisdiction over electoral boundaries, so it's not about mayor, ward, or anything like that. That's not on the table today. It's simply about how many electoral districts you want. Currently, we have 11, and as part of the report that went forward, it showed a comparison of other municipalities in the province and the number of electors per member of council and so on and so forth. So that we need to do another review in 2025, so the report contemplates whether we do it in-house or whether we hire a consultant. And it's a mix across the province in the past. Probably half have done it in-house, half have hired external consultants. So it's strictly up to council how you wish to proceed. At this point, staff are looking for some direction from council as to what the options are that you want to go forward and consult with the public on. So if we just consult with the public, generally we may get all kinds of different options. It may not be helpful. So what staff are looking for is some direction as to what those options are that we should have a discussion with the public on, as well as what types of consultation you want to do. There's lots of different options, and everyone, different time frame, different amounts of money, and so on and so forth. So I'll leave it at that for now and look forward to council's feedback.
Okay, thank you. We will start with Deputy Warden Enslow, then with Councillor Longmire, Councillor Agambar, and Councillor Collins. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure everyone's going to chime in by the end of this. So I know it's a hot topic everywhere, and it was probably a hot topic during everyone's election campaign. So I just want to start off first by making a bit of a recommendation on maybe the numbers proposed, because I know that 11 is, in my mind, too much. It's not really sustainable in some ways. And it's very clear that the URB probably wouldn't approve it in the future anyway. So over the past couple days, I have been doing some research looking at other municipalities. And I did learn, it was interesting, I thought we were like a small, medium municipality, but we're quite large in size compared to other parts on this side of Nova Scotia. Where there's municipalities that have 6 or 7 councillors for 4,000 residents, which is crazy, where we have almost 22,000 residents and 11. But what I would like to recommend is 3 options to the public, because I find that if we just open it up and say, okay, what do you guys want as the public? They're automatically going to say, well, 3. Or whatever, right? Like, even from the last, I wasn't on council when we did the last survey, but the highest vote was for the automatic lowest number, because we gave 6 options in total. But I would like to put forward the recommendation to have options of 8, 9, and 10. I know that we don't like in some ways, it's hard to have a equal number. So if we had 10 or 8, but if we get to a point where the council is that divided, where it would be a 50-50 split, then we would have to have a longer conversation anyway. So for an even number of council, that really doesn't mean much to me, because around the table right now, I feel we have really good council. So that would be the 3 that I would recommend, 8, 9, 10, because I know 11 is never going to get approved again. And we've heard it loud and clear from the public that 11 is too much anyway. Now in regards to what to do to get the input, I feel that we probably should do a survey of some type. I know it was difficult last time because it was during COVID, and now we don't have that pressure. But we need to be able to find the right survey and how we're going to do it, and I believe we're going to have to look at some type of hybrid approach for the survey. It can't just be online, because we've learned multiple times that there's different barriers from people, so we need to be able to have the option of hybrid. So I want to take kind of a lessons learned from the survey that we did for the Bridgetown Area Planning Advisory. This was 2 years ago almost, where we did a survey and it was online. However, we had paper copies available for people to do that either didn't have computers or wanted to fill it out. And then the staff would take that and input it into the data. Now, that topic is important for others, but it's not the same caliber as this. So we were a little bit more compliant with it and put the surveys at different local businesses and stuff like that. So I just think we need to kind of think outside the box of how we're going to do the survey, but we definitely need the survey to hear from the people what they want. And with that, I believe we also need to do, before the survey, some type of education piece to the general public. Because if we don't provide information on what councillors actually do and what municipalities are responsible for versus provincial or federal, then they might not have the information to make that educated decision. They may just pick A, B, C, and just like multiple choice, well, I'll go with C, or whatever. So I feel that we need to have that education piece to really explain to the citizens what councillors do. And everyone around here has now been at the table for at least a couple months, so we're all realizing exactly what our roles and responsibility are. But the general public doesn't know. So we need to be able to tell them, that way they can make a real informed decision. And what would the effects be if we went down to, say, 8? Would that mean that maybe you would go longer without getting a response from a councillor? Would you, And then also, from our perspective, it'd be interesting to find out how we're going to do the boundaries. Because our county's so large. I know most of us, we couldn't take 20 minutes and drive from one end to another of our district. So by going down to each one of these, it'd be interesting to see where we draw them at. So there's the three recommendations that I'm making: is education piece, a hybrid survey, and the three options of 8, 9, 10. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. Next. Councilor Longmire.
Thank you. It is a very large topic. We've got great assets in each one of our districts. All of our halls are available, and they would welcome us to show up in those halls. As councillors, our citizens need to see us out there and working. I think about the inventory of what councillors do in the run of a month or a year, And I often heard on the campaign trail that they don't see counselors out as often as they would like. They might see them in a photo or in the reader, something like that, but they're not actually seeing traction on the ground. So, that's one of the hard spots for, let's call it the county wanting to see a downsize of the number of districts. We know the geography, we know that there are really sensitive topics for districts, and, uniquely enough, they don't all show up looking the very same. So, we need to be mindful of that. I think we've come to the end of where 11 seems to fit or be the appropriate number. How those districts would come together and be divided differently, of course, is far beyond my ability to suggest. But I do think there needs to be some work done on it, and I think that work needs to be hard work, and I think it needs to be done out in the public. I don't think the survey, as Deputy Warden Enslow said, a hybrid approach has to be had. The survey the last time was at best poor. I don't know how I could add it up any differently. The response to it just wasn't there. And, everyone, we don't necessarily have all email addresses. We don't necessarily, get before all of the audiences, right? And we need to be, in advertising, is there a more appropriate amount of time to offer in order to get the traction on something like this topic that's going to change the way things will happen in this county? Myself, I've looked at even the number of 6 and considered it more, and I really do hold my breath when I say something like this. But it is a very serious job that you do as a counselor. And our citizens need us. They need us to help them navigate some difficult challenges, and they want to hear from us. And they, what's reasonable, I don't know. In every other industry, I know what's reasonable, but what is reasonable in each one of our districts, I don't know. You can't just send a leaflet out in a mailbox. There are people that don't even go to their mailbox, right? Because they lean on just their email, right? Do we want to go the expense route of hiring someone to show us what we need to do? Well, mapping is one piece of it, building the new kind of districts. The cost, it's costly to do almost every effort that you can to get in front of 20,000 people. So I really go back to say that, our halls are a great asset. Every counselor needs to get out, be given the education, the tools, or have a buddy system that can support them in their halls to share the information and, share it equally, and all details be included so that perhaps we can rally more people in each district, right? As opposed to, say, NSCC and bringing out, trying to get 1,000 people out, which that's taking people out of their own districts. People want to talk about their own space and place, right? So there's that I would like to add. Sometimes I've seen along my previous 4 years, sometimes it gets complex. We see so much information coming at us, and people tend to overlook a particular topic because this one's more important. So this needs to stand alone. So when it's shared or advertised or whatnot, it should be done in isolation of other larger topics, just so that people can pay close attention. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Next is Barbara. We need Jesse on the list.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, let's just, I guess I've been accused of a lot of things, but one of the things I am is pragmatic. And I think what we need to do is focus on what the request is. So the request is, staff is requesting direction from council as to how they wish to proceed with further public input. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to debate the issue now in terms of the number of councils and number of districts and so on and so forth. Having said that, if you read I'm sure we've all read the report in detail regarding the UARB letter that they wrote back to us, giving us direction. One of the clear directions that they've stated is before we even get into the fact of how many councils we should have, we should clarify the fact whether or not we want to go back to that question of whether we have a mayor or a warden. One of the...
Excuse me. That is the one thing we do not want to bring into this. We're totally, if you look at the request of how many councillors, which would involve the boundaries, we're leaving the mayor and the warden apart. So please, let's not bring that into this discussion.
Okay, so thank you very much for that, so I'll continue on.
Yes, please.
So as per the UARB direction as well, which they clearly stated that should happen, I'll move forward. In respect to the number of districts, they also said at the time that the survey, and I quote, was an impressive survey with participation level achieved. So there was good survey results from the last survey. The issue was that the information wasn't listened to by the previous council, in my opinion, so therefore we're here again doing it, which could have happened before. So in respect to that, I'm thinking that as far as a survey, if we do choose to have a survey, we have to keep it simple. We can't convolute it like we did the last one. The last one, there were 6 different options. People were choosing half of one option, half of another in respect to the previous item I just mentioned. So that's an issue that can't be together for sure. But I think we need to keep it simple, and if we put too much into the survey, people are going to, by the time they get past number 2 into 3 or 4 or 5, it's all over and done with, and they may not even, respond to that. So whatever that result is, it should be a very succinct, simple process that people can make a clear decision on in language they understand. So I think that's extremely important for whatever result comes from this discussion that we have as per the request from staff.
Great,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, Councillor Hagenbach. Next is Councillor Conlon.
Well, I'm not against 11 councillors, and the Utility and Review Board did not say they would not accept 11 councillors. So that was a misspoken fact. We've had 11 councillors through 2 terms of dealing with the URB. We've had good reason why we needed 11 councillors, because one councillor already spoke about how large our county is versus other jurisdictions. I've been on council for 20 years, and I can't say honestly that I got in any election to every door in my district, even when I represented District 2. And I surely didn't get to everyone in District 10. We just went through a provincial election. I never seen any candidates. I saw their helpers. Young kids coming in and say, can you vote for this person? So when we downsize and make our districts bigger, is that what the municipality's going to go to? Or are we going to get associates to go door to door for us and knock on the doors because we won't be able to make the amount of houses? So I'm not against 11 councillors. And it was promoted last time was going to save the county money. It's not going to save the county money. It's not going to save 10 cents. Because in these big districts, some of our districts are very small, and the districts don't have any really concern of what I'm going to say is, but you got to have a reliable car. You got to have the time to get to your district. Just like one councillor said, they want to see you. We go to conferences, and what do they say? The municipal government is closest to the people. Well, if we're going to go down and downsize this council, the first thing is the council's going to say, I would say, if I was on a smaller council, maybe I should have an office in Middleton. Maybe my constituents should come to my office, same as the MLAs. How often can you get in to see the MLA when he's there? So if we're gonna tear apart our municipal government to make it that people can't see us, we don't go out to their communities, we want them to come to us because we have such a big area, we're defeating the purpose of the municipal government. We might as well just be under the MLA. So it's not a money-saving thing, because if the districts are made bigger and the people got to travel to different areas, they're going to come back to the table and want their stipend raised. Because you're going to wear those, you're going to wear your vehicle, it's going to cost you more for gas. If you go out, if you don't go out to the community, that's fine. I never heard in running for last election, not one person told me that we should downsize. There was no concern about that. All they're concerned about is how the county's gonna run, what are you gonna do, is what the county's working on. I don't know why we would choose different numbers than what our staff has already done. Staff has already done the homework on 7, 9, and 11. They've already done the maps for the previous election. So if we go to different numbers, we're going to create a whole bunch more work on staff they've already done it. I'm not against the survey, but there was remarks about the survey that council didn't listen to the last survey. I've seen many petitions come into this county, stacked, 1,000 names. But when you go through that petition and someone on council says, oh, that person, he's an American, they just live here in the summertime. Oh, that's so-and-so's kid, he lives in Halifax. It makes that petition void. Because how many names are on that don't count? Same as the survey. The survey was not done correctly. I know personally people that voted 10 times just trying to see if you were allowed. And that wasn't one, that was several people that tried that. So when we get 400 people participated in voting out of 21,000, to me, that's not a really good amount of showing that our public's putting input in. Plus, when you take the 400, and you already know that people have voted 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, how many actually voted out of that 400? So the survey, I'm not against the survey, but if we do a survey, we got to do it like we did, like the provincial election was. You get a code, once you use it, you can't vote again. Because when people stand their ground that the last council did not listen to that survey, they're not listening to us and saying, well, it was a poorly done survey. I'm like I said, I'm 100% 11 councilors. I'm 100% to put things to the URB, why we should stay at 11 councilors. And
So your suggestion, if I may ask, Councillor, is to add 8, 9, 10, and 11, not to rule out 11. That's your
but why would we do 8, 9, 10?
I'm just saying, you would add...
I'm saying staff's already done the maps.
Yes.
7,
They've done them all.
7, 9, and 11.
And 11. They've done them all. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They would have to be changed, yeah, they were there. They would have to be changed because of the boundaries and the numbers. They still would have to be redone.
Oh, I didn't realize they'd already done.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
I don't know, I'm not sure what they did.
Who could I ask for that one?
I thought they did 7, 9, and 11.
I think I just read it in here. It was exactly what you had said earlier. I think it was
There was 6 and 8 in there.
Okay, let's
10, 8, and 6.
Let's get back to where we are. Sorry, Councillor, keep going. So your addition, you would want to consider,
But I think that if we go to the public, it's gotta be more than a survey. The survey is, like I said, the survey, if we're gonna do a survey, the survey's gotta be done that it can't be tainted. If it's tainted, it's no different than, like I said, as far as a petition coming in. And that last survey was tainted.
Thank you. Sorry.
And like I said, the URB has never said they won't accept 11. They're telling us that we have to prove to them how many counselors we need. And we've gone through that 2 different elections and passed 11, both of them. And all I'm saying is that if there's a counselor in this room that can say that he went or she went to every house in their district and talked to every person, I'd like to know who they are so I can ask some of their
Well,
questions.
you can go to every house, doesn't mean you're going to see everybody.
Right, because I went back as a counselor over the years, I've gone back some houses 3 and 4 times. Because if you see that person in the store, because that's where they see us. They see us as a counselor 24/7, no matter which store you're in, where you are with your family, if you're in a restaurant, we're at their beck and call. And I have no fears of doing that, because that's the job. We're closest to the people. But you stretch us thin, you stretch the counselors thin, we're going to become no better than the MLA. We'll be at the mercy of them having to come find us.
Great.
So I just want counselors to think about that, how many houses they got to, how many people they got to talk to. And like counselors have said, they want you to come out to their community events. They want you to come out to their fireman's supper. They want you to come to all these things that happen. It isn't a full-time job. This is supposed to be a part-time job, and you have families and other interests that you have to balance. The more you load on, the more it's coming a full-time job.
Thank you. Okay, I have Councillor Hare and Harding after. And Crenton, sorry. Okay. Yes, Councillor Hare.
I think the only way that any sort of public consultation will be valid is with education, like you said, because the problem is, right now, the only benefit that I can see to reducing the counselor size is our approval, is how people see council and they approve of council. I mean, when there's maybe a couple people on my campaign that said there should be less counselors, I mean, the bottom line was they figured we were getting paid too much, and we figured it would save money for the council. And as we said, it's not going to save council. So I mean, people need to be educated that I only see downsides to reducing counselors. I mean, on pages 34 and 35 is a great big list of the downsides. So if we were to do another survey, as you say, have an education piece, but the problem is, how many people doing the survey are actually going to read that education piece? Even if you force them to read a paragraph before they answer a question, chances are they're just going to look around, wait till the timer runs out, and then click less counselors. So, I mean, I don't know. So the URB has said we have to do more public consultation, correct? Yes. So even when we do this public consultation, you got to keep in mind, the ones that did complete the survey, do they understand the consequences? Because what I think is going to happen is if we decrease the amount of counselors, we're going to get a temporary boost of approval of council, and then it's just going to downhill from there, because as Lynn had said, people were complaining about not seeing counselors. So for all these reasons on page 34 and 35, yes, we're gonna get that boost of approval from reducing counselors, and then they're gonna find out, oh, well, now council's approved pay raises because people are more busy, so that's gonna tank approval there, and you're not gonna see people, that's gonna tank approval. And not to mention our voter turnout, I think will tank too. If I look at my district, I already have quite a few communities in my district, and they're pretty well spaced around the edges. Is somebody in Wilmot going to want to vote if the only candidates are from Fort Lorne, that they have no idea? When I go around door to door, a lot of people I know recognize, I'm not far from majority, but I mean, through my business, a lot of people know who I am. If I start having to, you know, if I'm campaigning in some other farther out, people know me less than less. Like Wilmot, people know me less the further I go out. So, shouldn't I do? And as Fuzzy said, 11's definitely got to be on the survey. I mean, we can't just not choose 11 under the fear that they may deny us. Let them deny it. Like if the right thing to do is have 11 counselors and we fear the URB is going to deny it, so we do 10, that's not what we should be doing. Put 11 down. And I mean, again, how well this next survey is going to work, if you look, it's no comment generally means acceptance of the status quo. Approximately half of 1% of the population survey indicated they would like change. Half of 1% of the population on the survey. So when we do this next survey, is it going to be different?
We're going to do better.
So I don't necessarily know how staff wants to do it. I don't know how they can go about doing this next survey, because if we do a survey, an online survey, I think we're going to have to at least try to force people to read a paragraph that says here are all the downsides. So that would guess would be my suggestion, force them, have a timer on the survey. I mean, people are still going to ignore it, but at least we tried. And then I guess that's, how else do you do it?
Thank you very much, Councillor Hare. Councillor Harding.
So, thank you. I would also like to say that nowhere reading through the report from the NSUARB does it say that we are not able to include 11 districts on our new survey. And I don't know how we would know that they would deny that. I don't think we can know that. So I would also agree with saying that I think that 11 should be included on the survey. I think that there's been some dissatisfaction with the way that things have gone with the last two iterations of council, and I think that that has factored into people's decisions. As Councillor Enslow said, I think a lot of people may have just said, pick the lowest possible number. After reading through the report, there's a lot of things in here that we need to take into consideration for doing this. And I personally would agree with some of Councillor Connell's comments that I think 11, and Councillor Hare, that 11 is a good number. It ensures effective representation, but it also prepares us for future growth, because we are still growing, which is great to see. And there is also the potential of annexation of more communities. We've seen the annexation of the community of Bridgetown in 2015. We could possibly see the annexation of other communities moving forward. So what we need to be aware of is localized representation and how important that is for rural communities. If you have a community such as a large community, you need to be cognizant that you're not letting a large community take your focus away from some of your smaller communities as well. So saying that, creating larger districts increasing workload, weakening the ability of counselors to address their unique needs in each and every one of their districts, I don't think is helpful. While the survey that we saw of roughly 400 residents, it certainly indicated interest in fewer districts. It was representative of a small portion of the county's population, and it lacked a clear consensus. So I don't think it reflects definitive support, so to speak. And also I would echo that non-respondents, it does often indicate a tacit approval of the status quo. The current structure that we have, I think, strikes a balance between representation and fiscal responsibility, and it allows councillors to remain accessible to their residents. There's something in this report here as well that I noted, that council costs represent 2.28% of the municipal budget, and any reductions would likely be offset, any reductions in council would likely be offset by an increased support needs, or higher compensation would be asked, because as we heard, if this is a full-time position, councillors are likely to be asking for higher compensation down the road. As I already said, 2015, the dissolution of Bridgetown, that reduced the council size effectively from 16 to 11. I think we need to keep that in mind too. And comparable municipalities like West Hants, East Hants, they have roughly the same amount of size and population as we do, and they effectively work with 11 councillors as well. We have a vast geography, and we have diverse communities here. I don't think there's any arguing that. It requires localized representation, and that allows us to address distinct needs that people have. People that live in Bear River do not have the same needs as someone that lives here in Lakeele at the edge of Annapolis Royal. It's different. So I believe that maintaining the 11 councillors would ensure a balanced governance, equitable representation, and a readiness to manage growth and annexations effectively. I think that reducing it is going to weaken representation. I think it's going to put a strain on the governance, and I think it's going to fail to deliver any significant financial benefits. So in saying that, my recommendation for staff would be a survey, because I think that we do have to have more information. We have been ordered for more information. I would simplify it to 9 and 11. I would simply ask a simple two answers, 9 or 11, and in agreement with Councillor Hare, I would say that there needs to be education on what you're losing if you're reducing the amount of councillors. Because the group that we have here, the people that I see sitting around this table, I know that we are out in our communities, I know we're discussing this with people. I personally didn't hear a lot of this on my campaign trail, but I think people need to understand that for localized representation, you need your councillor to be in your community, and they cannot be spread too thin. I think it's very, very important. So that would be my recommendation. And I would just like also to note that with the other issue of governance off the table, then we must assume that we are under a warden system, and an 8 or a 10 or an even number would create problems, because you would have no chairperson available to make the vote if you were at an impasse. If you were at 5 and 5, that is why you have that odd number, so that your chairperson can then be the deciding vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Hardy, for all that information. Councillor Cranton.
Right, thank you. Been listening to all your comments. And I agree with bits and pieces of what everybody has said, so there's a lot to think about. I agree with the comments around the education piece. I do think, and that the issue at hand is, provide some direction to staff on how to engage the public, not necessarily at this point debating the size of council. since everybody has said what they thought about the size, I will say that I'm one of the ones that don't think it should be 11. I do think I heard rather clearly during my campaign that people felt it was too high. And I agreed with them. I do see the ability to save money by doing this. It may not be a significant bunch, but it stands back to it was the comment that I heard about us leading by example. Any type of reduction we can do sets the tone for saving money. I will say that you cannot assume a significant bump in the stipend. If there is an increase, it would likely be offset by the number of positions in that. It's not a corresponding offset. I do agree with the comment about keep it simple. So I think two thoughts on it. I agree with maybe the 7, 9, and 11. So the warding options are off the table, but those were the options for size of council in the previous survey. Councillor Harding has opened my eyes up to open to the idea. I personally would like to see 7, 9, and 11 as the options, but I am open to the idea of 9 and 11 because it brings it down to 2. There's 2 options, so I am open to that, and at that point, it's really becoming a survey on reducing or not reducing, instead of splitting the vote on a reduction of the size of council, you're just simply leaving it as a status quo or a reduction. The challenge with surveys is because you already did one, so it is hard to buy input or feedback or investment in a survey when people just did one. That's any type of topic. There will be people that say we just did one and that. So I do think Deputy Warden's suggestion about some type of hybrid survey or something like that would be good. So it definitely needs to be tied into some type of, we're taking this serious. It's a different approach, but it's building on the information we already had. I don't have a hard opinion yet on whether we go consultant or in-house, but I would be open to the idea of the consultant because I do feel that it would give us a little bit of independence in it. In an ironic way, I sometimes feel like us talking about the size of council puts us in a conflict of interest because we're talking about our own salaries and our own seats in a weird way. So consultant would give us a little bit of independence, and maybe I would just be curious of hearing if there's any way to make use of the existing work that was done. So I believe there were samples on like potential boundaries, what they would look like, and things like that. And just wrapping up, like on just my own thought on it, I have no problem admitting that I myself didn't get to every door. I did do some door-to-door knocking. Schedule made it challenging, so I leaned heavily in onto the other methods of campaigning and serving my community, whether that's mail-outs, information in printed media, social media, meetings at halls, and basically made myself available to anybody that wanted to call me. So now I did have the smallest margin of victory, but I conclude that by making use of other ways to serve your community and make yourself accessible to the people you serve, it is successful. So in the challenge of getting door to door and serving bigger areas, I think if we did reduce, we just try to learn ways of how to make ourselves accessible. You can successfully serve your communities with a smaller council.
Thank you, Councillor Cranston. Now, we have 6 minutes before we have a presentation. So, Councillor, or Deputy Warden Enslow, you need to wrap it up.
He was first.
You were first. Okay, so we'll do...
I'll be brief. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Just to wrap up, a couple of things that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention for consideration. So if you look at the UARB report, the results, as the UARB said, where even though there was a number of 400 people, that was considered a reasonable number to get a consensus by the UARB. I think they said it was an efficient number. Couple of things in terms of the numbers in that report from the UARB, which clearly stated 81% of the folks at the time favored fewer districts with a mayor, and 68% favored fewer districts with a warden. So there was a clear consensus of what the people actually wanted to do at that time. Secondly, when we're talking about a new survey in the terms of the number of districts and so on and so forth, that requires mapping and everything else. It's been very costly. The staff did a great job with that before with the mapping. If anybody went to the municipal or the district meetings showing all that. So to change that at this point would be very much more costly again. If you look at some of the neighboring communities, if you look at Kings County, for instance, Kings County has 49,000 people. They have a mayor and 9 councilors. We have roughly 20,000 people with 11. So the numbers speak for themselves. And finally, I think it behooves us as councilors, once this survey is out there, once this whole process starts, that we need to do our due diligence and actually talk to our constituents. You know, have meetings at your town, at your community halls, rather than just come here and take the information that we receive going around the table and making decisions. So I think it behooves us to actually, consult with our people, our constituents, before we are in a position to make final decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hagenbauer.
Thank
Deputy
you.
Warden
Very
Henslow.
quick.
Very quick.
Glad I had the opportunity to go first where I threw it at a really low number. So it was nice to have some interesting conversation. I just want to touch on the consultant versus in-house. So for me, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I do feel that we have the staff that are more than capable to do it. And some of the work's already been done with mapping because we already have charts from 6 all the way up to 11. As well as in the past couple of years, we haven't had the best luck with consultants. So I just don't want us to spend a lot of time and a lot of money to do an RFP, then do the process, to then slow it down.
Yes.
Versus when we have our trusted in-house staff that are more than capable of doing this. Now, if they feel that they don't have the time to do it, then that's a different discussion. However, I believe that this is well within the realm of in-house skills and ability, and for us to waste time or spend more time and money on consultants that are going to take the recommendation from the consultants to then send it to the people, it just puts an extra block. Because all we want to do is review what we reviewed and say, this is what you should do, and then we look at it and we say, well, we agree or we disagree, and then we go and do a survey anyway. So I feel that it's probably just a waste of money. And I do agree with that we probably should have the 11th number on the survey, 100%. And I don't know if I feel about a 9, 10, 9, and 11 where you're really saying reduce or not reduce. That is the question, really. So, no pun. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Deputy Warden Henslow.
I have 5 seconds left.
Okay. Do you have information, a lot of information? Not
No.
really.
So what's the consensus for, because the boundaries are going to have to be redone, so it doesn't matter if you stay at 11. I don't
Yes.
think the current boundaries work very efficiently, so we need
No.
to change those boundaries anyway.
Yes.
So, and so we have to do the mapping, that's not an issue, staff will look after doing the mapping.
Correct.
So the question is, do you want to do 7, 9, 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 9, 11? What's the consensus?
Okay.
Doesn't mean we have to stick with that at the final, but that's what we would consult, that's what we would do the mapping on, that's what we would consult the public on and see what they thought.
So I'm going to throw out some,
Quickly, I would like to see mapping prep done for 9, 10, 11.
okay?
And then whatever we pick after to go to a survey, and we'll pick, but at least we can see what that would look like.
So how many of you agree that we would go, anybody agree that we could go 9, 10, 11, and then after the map being done, we can look at them after that? Consensus of any kind, 9, 10, 11?
No.
Yes.
9, 10, 11? 1, 2,
I want more.
3, 4, 5, 6. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6. And so I guess that's majority.
And in-house or consultant?
In-house, okay. How many go for in-house? I think that covers that. Next,
And how do we want the consultation? Do we want a
hybrid.
countywide PIN survey? Do we want just a regular mail-out survey? Do we want just a basic post it online and stick it around grocery stores or corner stores, or
I think PIN is the only accurate way to do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
possibly.
the only actual ways of PIN?
The only accurate.
Yes, PIN is.
And what about
is
the
that
With education.
possible? Okay, let's just, okay, so now we have PIN, and we have, how many,
Can I make a suggestion, Madam Chair?
yes, you have one, we're over.
I suggest that we have pen and mail-out survey, flyer.
Then it defeats the
Well,
whole
it's the
purpose.
education
Could the
piece.
survey not be done at the end of an information session, a paper survey, and that would give us our hybrid online and paper?
Or we could have the PIN and then have stuff set up.
Education.
That way they can do it at the survey if they choose to show up.
Yeah.
Not paper, but like what we did
That-
for the provincial election
Yes.
towards the end,
Yeah.
you know, where you get the number that you already have and we have the computers or something set up and they can do it right then.
Okay, we're going with.
So right now we're going rogue.
Well,
Yes,
we're
going-
getting into $70,000, $80,000
Yeah,
quick.
yes, very quick.
We need the education, that's paramount to engaging the people.
Yes, yes it is. And those would be meetings, all the halls, like we did before.
Yeah.
But then you only get so many people, and then we have to send it out a different way.
This survey can,
So, pardon, Counselor?
survey can have the education piece, and they gotta, again, read the education piece before they answer the survey. So they have a PIN to get into the survey, read the education piece, then they can answer the survey.
Okay, all right. So, my suggestion at this time is that we need to kind of move on. And in doing that, maybe we could leave it to staff, to our CAO, to decide what's more convenient and not too costly.
Oh, because I'd like to see what the cost is for the PIN.
Yes, so
Yeah.
that we
Versus not
could,
PIN.
we could see what we could do,
Yes.
what we
It's
could
gonna
do from
depend.
there. How many agree with that? Leave it
Yeah.
to CAO
Yes.
to find the cost.
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay, good. There you go. So we'll leave it at that. If
Sounds
that's
like a
your
few
job.
late nights.
Okay, we are a few minutes behind in our presentation. We have a presentation this morning. Mr. McKay, pleased to have you. Come on up. Yes, please. He's going to do Rural Communications Foundation of Nova Scotia, Dave Gunning, 0. Nice to have you.
Thank you very much, Warden, councilors, staff. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So I can control this from here, can I?
Yep, you got the down button on the... There you go.
Okay. Some of you may be familiar with the Rural Communities Foundation, but just briefly go through who we are, what we do. Specifically today, I'd like to speak about the Dave Gunning Zero Hunger Fund, which you folks generously supported last year. I have an ask for consideration, but it's not a financial ask that I've come here for. What I'm asking for is your assistance in awareness for the program. So firstly, the Rural Communities Foundation, we are one of approximately 200 community foundations across the country. In Nova Scotia, there are 3. The perhaps more well-known, much larger Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia, which is HRM-based, then the Rural Communities Foundation, which I'm representing, and which by its name speaks to more the rural parts of Nova Scotia. And then there's also a Mi'kmaq Community Foundation here in the province. Our foundation has been around for just over 20 years now, and primarily what we do is groups, organizations, sometimes individuals within rural Nova Scotia bring a matter to our attention, an issue, a challenge, and we try to help them find some solutions by gathering local folks together if necessary, but primarily we do fundraising and then provide grants back to that organization to help them in addressing that issue. We are a federally registered charity with CRA, so we're accountable not just to CRA, but to our donors, to our grantees, and then to the community at large. And as such, we can provide tax receipts, I should mention that, which a number of good causes, of course, aren't able to do that, but as a federally registered charity, we can issue tax receipts to our donors. And we don't operate in a silo. We're part of numerous organizations working here in the communities. So rural initiatives are what we're all about. As I said, basically covered all this. We also administer trust funds on behalf of individuals and organizations. So some of our current projects, the Ukrainian Nova Scotia Resettlement Fund, this is something we're doing on behalf of the Ukrainian Canada Foundation, where they flow money through to us from donations that they have, some from government, some from the public, and so forth. And what it's intended to do is help Ukrainian refugees who fled the conflict in their own country, who've come here to Canada, and specifically in this case to Nova Scotia, to try to help them resettle and rebuild their lives. The Joan Feynman Climate Change Fund. Joan Feynman was a noted American astrophysicist with family ties back to Nova Scotia. She was also a climate activist, and she passed away recently. Her family here in Nova Scotia established a fund in her honor and in her memory, and it's a 50-50 cost-sharing thing where an organization brings something to do with climate remediation or management that they're doing locally, and we can provide matching funds to help support that. I should add it's closed for this year. The applications are already done, but it'll be reopening again next year. Housing for Health is a unique initiative. We really just have one program that we're working on there. Sometimes our foundation has been the recipient of bequeaths of property. And we have one such property up at Richmond County, which happens to be very conveniently located next to the Richmond Regional Hospital. And what we're doing is turning that building into housing for healthcare workers. Could be doctors, could be technicians, lab techs, whatever, nurses and so forth. Somebody working in the medical field that is coming into that area where, as across Nova Scotia, we have a housing crisis, and it's to help Richmond offer some housing, primarily temporary, until they get established with something, but at least gets them into the community involved and gets them working there. The Soaring Eagle Fine Grants is a program we do, also a cost-sharing program to help young Two-Spirit LGBTQ artists get a foothold, to get a start, and so we've helped them with that. Community impact conferences. Some of you, and sorry, I don't know the makeup of council here, how much is new and how much has been around, but we do community impact conferences. We did one last year up in Member 2. Some of you may have attended that. And these are, again, to talk about local issues and what's being done on a regional, local basis. The one in Member 2 is on climate change. We had presentations from different municipalities on that, as well as other speakers. But today I'd like to speak about the Dave Gunning Zero Hunger Fund, which some of you may be familiar with, but some of you perhaps are new and not so familiar. This actually started as it was going to be the Bruce Guthrow Zero Hunger Fund, but Bruce unfortunately passed away last year, and when he knew he was that his activity would be restricted, and that he was passing. He asked his good friend Dave Gunning, who's also a noted Nova Scotian musician, and if Dave would take over lending his name to the program. And Dave's been just wonderful. He hasn't just lent his name, he's lent his time, his energy, his finances to help support this program. And we always know when Dave's at a concert, because we get a flurry of donations coming in the next day. He's even done a few concerts where the proceeds came directly to the fund. So what's the fund about? It's a complement to the government-paid, provincially, federally paid breakfast and lunch programs that occur in schools. The difference with this one is the teachers often recognize which students are coming to the schools and they're undernourished. That they can tell from the lack of attention and other social issues, perhaps, that some of these kids aren't getting nutrition at home. And so 80% of the schools in the province have a program sometimes called free stores, sometimes called backpack programs, free pantries and so forth. What it is providing supplies for the kids, the students who the teachers feel could use some assistance, to be able to get some supplies that they can then take home and share with their families. So it might be for the evening, through the weekend, through the Christmas break, so that there's some opportunity at least to have some nutritional food. We're not a competition to the food banks. We're complementary, we're supportive of the work that's done in food banks throughout the communities. We're one more means of trying to address food insecurity. As I said, 80% of the schools in the province are currently doing this, but they're all doing it on an individual basis. There's no overarching program that supports this. And as individual schools, the wherewithal to stock the shelves comes from the school staff, the teachers and other staff who are putting forth their own funds, their own resources to stock these shelves. So we were approached by some schools, actually over in the South Shore region, to see if we could assist in this. And so our board looked at it and said, yeah, this is in our mandate, in our mission to help in rural Nova Scotia. And so we talked to Bruce Cotw, who agreed to lend his name, and subsequently to Dave. And so we launched the program last year with the goal of raising a certain amount of money, and that was done primarily through individual donations, corporate donations, and like yourselves, 3 municipalities across the province contributed some funding to the program. And we're very thankful for that, and we do thank you for that. In December, we granted over $100,000 in schools throughout the province. And we covered every part of the province from Yarmouth to Glace Bay and points in between. Here in Annapolis County, 4 schools were awarded grants: Middleton Regional High School, Glooscap Elementary School, West Hants Education Center, and St. Mary's Elementary School all received contributions this year, $3,500 each. So $14,000 was allotted here in the county, or I should say to the Annapolis Valley Regional Center for Education, because certainly West Hants obviously is not in your county, and I apologize for that. So we had over 80 applications. We were only able to satisfy 35 or so. And that certainly points to the great need there is for programs such as this. And so we're undertaking the program again this year. Recognizing that need, we've upped our goal very dramatically. It's a stretch goal, but we're going to try to raise $200,000 this year to address more schools that are having this challenge. I should say that any funds that we raise locally are spent locally. As I mentioned, Dave has done a number of concerts where the proceeds came directly to the program, and when he does that, we make sure that those funds are spent locally. He's done other concerts, such as in Halifax, that raised a considerable amount, and we're able to use that to spread out across the province to make sure that we do get a fair coverage across the province. I'm very pleased that we've already raised 10% of our 2025 goal, and we're only here in mid-January. We're starting on a fairly ambitious program now for corporate donations to supplement the public donations. So the ask today is, if on your social media, be it the county itself, be it your individual ones, if we provide you some information, if you might consider boosting that in your own social media to help out the program, because we do have an ambitious goal, $200,000. You might like to consider having a Dave Gunning concert here in Annapolis County, in a local venue that could support such a thing, and I'd love to talk to your staff today if it's something that you think you might go forward. I won't take more time, but I'd love to take questions. So I open that up to the Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions to ask of our guest, Mr. McKay? Yes, Deputy Warden?
Thank you. I do think a concert would be a good idea, and I'm sure we have various venues within the county, ones we own and ones we don't, that, maybe we could look at doing. I just personally have a question. Are you guys related to the Bridgetown Community Fund?
Not directly. I'm personally not familiar with them, but we enjoy working with local community organizations on initiatives that maybe we can support them or they us.
No, I was just trying to wonder what umbrella they were.
Okay.
But no, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Councillor Longmire?
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of this information that you've given us this morning. I'm just curious, is this all just directly for schools, or is this as well available for seniors and other organizations and groups?
Well, Councillor, that's a really good suggestion, that there should be similar sorts of things for seniors, particularly those who may have mobility issues getting out and so forth. At this time, this is aimed at the schools, and we've made a 5-year commitment that our foundation will support schools, but we're always interested in doing other programs as well. And so that's a very good suggestion to support seniors and other challenged populations.
Thank you for that.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, thank you so much, Ms. McKay, for coming in and doing your explanation of how you are working and helping our young kids that certainly do need to have the opportunity to have food, to be able to function through school as well as on weekends and on vacation time. It's
Thank you very much, Warden. Thank you very much for your attention and interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. All right. And we shall move on. We are at 6.3, page 45. I would need, this is about climate change, so I would need a volunteer to read the motion. Councillor Welch?
I move Municipal Council approve Policy 125 Climate Change Action Plan Review Committee as circulated 7-day notice.
A seconder, Councillor Cranton. Okay, comments, questions? This is just basically housekeeping, sort of simplifying the policy, but I will leave it up to Madame Campbell. I'll get it right this time. She needs to, if you would like to speak on it.
That's exactly right, Warden, and I would just note before you move on some of the other policies, this will close the loop on having all the standing committees that you're going to see listed in the council procedures policy, having policies for those standing committees. And the pattern that we have established that we're currently following is ad hoc committees and joint and regional will have terms of reference.
Correct. Any questions or comments from any councillors? See none, so all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No? Approved. Motion passed. Okay, so we are now on page 53. This has to do with council procedures and committees. Could you please read, Councillor?
I motion that municipal council approve policy 116, council procedures and committees as circulated, 7-day notice.
Thank you very much. Seconder? Councillor, Thank you. Are there any questions?
There is one change, there is
Yes,
one
we have a
change.
change.
No.
Okay, Ms. Manel?
So given that you have made the recommendation to go to a joint police board, I will make a change to what is circulated in your package. I will remove police board from standing committees, and I will add a section in joint and regional. And I will make sure that Kelly has that to circulate with your council agenda package, so that you can actually see it at the time that you approve it, with those changes. And I guess overall on the policy, I would say it's been greatly simplified and reduced, primarily by taking out repetition of senior government statutes and regulations.
Correct. Okay.
So just to clarify, so in your policy on page 57, under 19H is Police Advisory Board.
On page 57.
On 57, 19H is Police Advisory Board. That's under Standing Committee. That just gets moved over to the next page, to 22, under Joint or Regional Committee. So we're just moving it over, and that's what the original discussion this morning about putting that other one first.
Yes.
So as Ms. Campbell said, when this comes back to council next week, if Committee of the Whole approves it moving forward, that change will be made, so you'll see the revised one.
Thank you very much. That's what will be moved. Councillor Ardenberg?
So, the motion covers, I guess, the material that starts on page 55 through whatever number that is. Am I correct in assuming that?
What? Okay. So the motion covers that we simplified this policy 116, which would be 55 to 58. The previous policy was started on 59 to whatever page that is.
Okay, so I'm speaking about page 55.
55.
So I would like to make an amendment to one section of that, if I may. So if you look at section 6,
Committee of the Whole?
section 6, Committee of the Whole.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd like to change some wording on that, so my amendment should read, regular meetings shall be held on the second Tuesday of each month commencing at 7 p.m. in the council chamber of the Municipal Administration Building, 752 St. George Street, Annapolis Royal.
Okay, so you're just amending number 6 by removing the 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
So that is his motion. We need a seconder.
I'll give a second.
Councillor Longmire. Okay, do we have any comments or questions about this particular? We'll start with Councillor Agenbar. Just let me put this in here. And then I saw Councillor Harding. And then Deputy Warden. Hold on. Hold on. Next would be Councillor Connell. And did I see one more? Not yet. Perfect. Councillor Agenbar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, the reason I'm bringing this up at this point is during my campaign, this is one of the issues that I had spoken to in respect to transparency of this council. historically, this council has had a bad rap for that, and I see this as an opportunity to help alleviate that in terms of allowing the public, and I realize that public is allowed to come to these meetings now at 10 o'clock in the morning, but a lot of the public are not available at 10 o'clock in the morning through the week. They work, or for whatever other reason they may be. This change would allow them to attend these meetings and see exactly what we do, and it would help clear up that issue of transparency. I think that's important for us to be in the public eye, and I think this is just another way to do that. And I would like to see that change.
Okay, so that's why you brought up your question. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hardy.
Yeah, thank you. While I completely understand Councillor Agenbar's point that it is good to invite the public in, I think it's wise to remember that we do broadcast these meetings. We do post these meetings to YouTube afterwards. I think we also have to be cognizant that although we've been very good at keeping our meetings on schedule, some of us do have young children, some of us have jobs, and to start a meeting at 7 p.m. that could possibly run 4 hours, as well as the staff requirements to be at those meetings as well, is something that we certainly would need to take into consideration. So like I say, as I agree that it is good to make sure that there is an availability for public engagement, I think we've actually improved with that a lot. So I would be against this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hardy. Deputy Warden.
Thank you. So, for the first time in 2 years, it wasn't myself that put this type of motion forward. However, I don't know if I could support the motion as amended, only because I feel that the meeting that I would like to see in the evening would be council, because it is usually a shorter meeting.
Yeah.
And we don't always have, presentations. It's mostly a quick meeting. We're in for an hour and a half, which would alleviate some staff pressure for us. Committee of the whole, as we look at our docket today, is a longer docket. This is where we do a lot of the discussions, and we have a lot of presentations, and then we have other meetings that attach to that. So I would be more supportive of amending the amendment. I'm just throwing it, I'm not actually putting something on the floor, I'm just making a suggestion. I would like to see, instead of moving committee the whole time to 7, move council to 6 or 6:30, that way it's not so late, versus 7, right? So if it starts at 6, we would probably be done at 7:38 for council, not committee of the whole. Yeah, so I'm not in supportive of the motion as brought forward, or the amendment, because I feel it's the wrong committee that we took to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Councillor Cotw, and then followed by Councillor Hare.
Madam Chair.
Promote the
sorry.
amendment.
Oh, I thought you was, sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I thought he was calling me, but he didn't.
I'm not going to
Change it.
I'm not going to support the amendment, and I can say that I probably won't support the amendment of changing council either. I think that Councillor Harding had a good point. We advertise it now. I've heard around the table already this morning on how we're going to save money for our constituents. And by putting in night meetings and having to bring staff in is overtime. And because if we're going to start shifting, wanting our one staff person to start telling his staff members that all of a sudden they got to take their family time and come into council chambers, I think it's not right. people do have the opportunity to come. We've held night meetings and had very little success in that. But again, we've changed our mandate. We put it on Facebook and other ways for people to see the meetings and how they can interact. I'm just not going to support it because I've seen our meetings not get any better at night. And again, we can say that our council meeting's going to be an hour and a half, but it can be 2 to 3 hours.
Yes,
And some of us drive 3/4 of an hour to get here. So then you're getting into 11:30 to midnight, and
That's ridiculous.
I just do not support either one. I think we meet at a good time, the staff's available to us, if we got any questions, if the CAO has to go get a individual staff member to come give us an update on something, we have it all right at our hands right here, right now, so I will not be supporting the one that's in motion now or something I make up, so.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Connell. Councillor Longmire, I have you on the list. Is that what you wanted?
I don't know if I was in order, though.
It's I was next.
What?
I think I was next one.
Yes.
Yes, you are next. I just put her down in the lineup. So she would know. Go ahead, Councillor.
I call the question.
No,
Please don't do that. Please just don't do that.
no.
I will deal with that in a minute. It's not appropriate to do that because then we have to do a different.
Then we just vote to call the question and vote
Different-
on it.
No. So, it doesn't work that way anymore. So you really don't want that, do you?
I guess not.
Thank you. That works very well. Hold on.
And maybe this is a learning
Yes.
moment
It
here.
it certainly is.
Teaching
So
about right now.
we have to do it.
Somebody calls the question, you call the question, okay? Requires a seconder, requires 2/3 support, and
Yes.
that only means nobody else can talk, so you don't actually vote on the motion, you'll actually have
Yeah,
two motions.
I
So-
did.
Yes.
So if you want
I did know
2/3
that.
2/3 of the people will say you can't, nobody else can talk,
Yeah.
so.
So, I was going to explain it all.
Yeah, I did understand it correctly,
Quick.
but I guess nobody wants it, so I'll forget it.
Thank you. We'll move
Madam-
on.
Madam Chair.
I will let Councillor Longmire speak, and then I'll go right back to Councillor Aguilar.
Thank you. You know what, there's great merit in wanting to provide an evening meeting. We have heard that for a number of years. However, there are the many moving parts to it that would directly impact, its effectual ability to seek out the answers to questions or guidance and support around staff that they're already present in the building during daytime hours.
Yes.
The cost is greater even beyond that, right? We know the cost to each one of us personally, right? It's busy as it is. There is the greater debate that happens during committee of the whole. Therefore, a much larger, longer, more intense meeting that I feel the citizens do want to see. So, although it has been, suggested that we look at council being the meeting that we might change to be an evening meeting, it is the debate the citizens want. So again, that meeting can be far longer, and it needs to be. They need to hear from us as councillors. Here, we're going to be in crossroads because there are going to be people that will disagree, whether you have children at home or whether I have a senior citizen living in my home that I'm caring for and things like that. There's always going to be something that will not allow us to suggest or see that change be reasonable. We as councillors need to do a better job in getting out to our districts and encouraging people to get involved. And we heard it through the election where the youth were the weaker of the voters. And, I made it a commitment to take agendas for Committee of the Whole and Council to my halls and circulate them well in advance so that questions and concerns could be generated and could come back through me and that I would have some place of reference and return to those individuals to share information as such after this meeting. So we need to do that. Those halls are invaluable that way. A great way to promote the agendas, and even if you're going to attend a coffee hour or whatever, and then, go back and meet with them again. And it will generate more traction, I think. More people will hopefully get involved. I don't know so much as a 7 p.m. meeting. I would like to see one meeting more daytime, one meeting evening, but the cost of it and so many other things, I just don't know whether it would be and work. Are we really going to get more attendance is the question. I would like to think we could, but I think we have a lot of work to do ourselves individually in our districts. Yeah, I'll leave it there, thanks.
Councillor Eisenbach.
Yes, some good points just I've heard since I made the amendment. I'd like to change the amendment, just the time, from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. So my amendment would read,
So
commencing at 6 p.m., not 7 p.m.
Second amendment.
Well, I'm the amender, so.
Just withdraw.
Or you could withdraw your motion and make a new motion. Try that.
Whatever works.
Well,
I'll withdraw the initial motion,
okay.
and I'd like to make,
Second approved. Okay, so now the new motion would be to change.
the new motion would read, regular meetings shall be held on the second Tuesday of each month commencing at 6 p.m. in the council chambers of the Municipal Administration Building, 752 St. George Street, Annapolis Royal, Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And I just want to add,
Wait. Now we need a seconder. Cranton, Councillor Cranton. The seconder for this motion. Okay.
just quickly, the reason I chose to have the committee of the whole meeting rather than the regular council meeting is because it is much more meaningful, as Councillor Longmire stated. So when we have a regular meeting, what we do is we come here, like next week, and all we're going to do is approve the motions that we've debated today. There's no discussion about the motions, there's no input at all, typically. They're just, so it's not as meaningful as having the people here and understanding why, and the discussion around the table as to why we make decisions we make. So that's the reason I chose committee of the whole vis-a-vis the regular council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we've changed it to 6 o'clock. Please do not repeat things that have already been said. Time is just an hour difference. Deputy Warden, Councillor Cranton, and Councillor Hare.
It's hard to remember everything went around the table. But I still do not support the amendment as proposed because of committee of the whole versus council. I know that people said that this is where we debate, but there's nothing saying that we can't debate at council, because there's a week in between that you have a second sober thought. People will watch committee of the whole and then contact you, and then maybe you have more information. There's nothing saying that you can't have a discussion during council.
Correct.
So I don't personally feel that there's merit with that part. And in regards to overtime, I understand that we're asking the staff to do stuff. However, if this is going to be the normal status quo, then there is certain things that can be changed within their schedule, as well as time in lieu of versus overtime. I know that we're doing that for other situations, and we can look at that as a cost-saving measure, as well as we have the discussion of council expenses to it. Well, most times councillors will come, and with our timings we'll have a lunch break, so you're claiming a meal. So whether you claim a meal at lunch or supper, you're still claiming meals, you're still claiming the same amount of mileage. But we're allowing a hybrid approach of, I understand the people, I have 2 kids with sports and all types of stuff. However, I just see it for an opportunity for the public. And there's nothing saying that maybe later on, if we do change, that we can't relook at it and change it again. There's nothing saying that we do something, we stick with it forever. If that was the case, we would have 16 counselors around the table when Bridgetown dissolved. So, you know, that's my thought process. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councilor?
I had observed during the campaign, and even before the campaign, that typically there is a desire from public to have meetings on important topics in the evening, to the point that some people strongly feel that when an important issue is scheduled during the day, there's some people that feel it was deliberately scheduled during the day to avoid that type of thing. So I'm not saying I agree with that, but I will say that there are people that feel that way. So I feel that whether it's committee of the whole or council, that at least one of these meetings should be at 6 p.m. in the evening. There are people who work during the day that can't get to them. Typically, when you see a meeting scheduled for 10:30 or whatever, you'll see a bunch of comments online saying, "Oh, well, I wish I could have made it. It's too bad they couldn't do this at night." Alternatively, I also realize, can't move them both to night for the opposite reason. There are people that the daytime is the better option. So that's why I feel one and one. I can't speak for staff, but I can tell you that I was a former municipal employee that worked for a municipality who had council meetings at night. Coming to those meetings was just part of the job. It was part of my salary, and there was arrangements made. So again, I can't speak for this particular staff, but I can say there are councils out there that meet at night, so it is doable. And then particularly the one during the day and the one during the night, I can appreciate like home life and family life and all that, but also there are counselors that work during the day that have to make special accommodations to attend during the day, so this would make it easier for them and future counselors to attend, and like I said, for people to come. So I think a one-in-one approach, whether it's council meeting or the committee of the whole, is the fairest alternative.
Thank you. Councilor Pierce?
I just don't see the quality of conversation if these meetings end up being long, going into 11, 12 o'clock at night. I do not want to sacrifice the quality of conversation. I just don't see the benefit to it. If this was a day and age where there wasn't recorded sessions that they couldn't just pull up on YouTube, that might change my mind, but the fact that they can just look on YouTube and look at everything we've said, I think negates that. It's, we don't allow people to come, currently don't allow people to come up and stand and talk during these meetings. So there's, in that sense, not public participation in that sense, so they can look on YouTube. So I don't want to sacrifice the quality of conversation. I don't want to sacrifice our staff's schedules. We talked about, we could change it later. Well, how convenient is that to change it. So it's, I just don't think it's a problem.
Thank you very much. Now, if I may, I'm just going to put my 2 cents in here. I probably shouldn't, but I will. I'm going to point to Councillor Parsons as well. We're on the very end. We're at the very end, and our citizens will not travel in the evenings, I don't believe, at any time, especially in the wintertime too. That eliminates a lot to do that traveling to come, because they can do the YouTube and the this and the that. But I do have a comment to say, because if you ran as a councillor, you should have known that you were coming to these meetings during the day. It should have been something that you knew already. It was already engraved there. So, having said that, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not changing anybody's minds on what they're doing. I just made a comment. So, now I have nothing to say about that. It's time for questions.
Just a recess.
Just one point of clarification. changing the time of a meeting has zero to do with transparency.
Exactly.
No,
So if you're changing the time of meeting, you're changing it for the time of meeting.
nothing.
Transparency is about us conducting our meetings in public, in the open session, not doing stuff in camera or hidden stuff. So if you're changing it for convenience or for whatever, but it has nothing to do with transparency. Please just remember that.
Okay. We will go, all in favor of the motion of changing it to 6 o'clock? Just signify by saying yes.
Yes?
Yes.
2, opposed? Saying no?
No.
No.
Is that a pass?
That's that, what am I doing?
I realized I wasn't paying attention.
Oh!
Yeah, I get wound up, so yes.
Yes. Motion defeated. Okay. Now,
Amendments.
the amendments.
Amendments.
Yes. Now we are going to go to the original motion, which
Just to approve.
to approve a policy 116, council procedures and committees, as circulated, 7-day notice. Oh, really?
Oh, we should make another amendment here.
Yeah.
Sure would.
Deputy Warden.
Yes, Deputy Warden.
Thank you,
Good night,
Madam Chair.
Good night.
I would like to make an amendment
Oh, okay.
to the meetings for Section 9 Municipal Council for,
What page are you on?
oh, sorry, page 55,
Yes, number
7,
Number 7.
Municipal Council.
Yes.
I would like to make an amendment of the time from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
So does everybody understand the amendment? And we need a seconder, which is Councilor Meyer.
Copy paste.
Are there any comments or questions or suggestions on this one? So we are going to go right to, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Is that 6 o'clock? 1, 2, 3, 4. Against, say no.
No.
Motion defeated.
It was, yeah.
Okay, that's the amendment defeated. Let's go to the motion itself. We're going to try that one. Page 53. Okay, let's do it. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion approved. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, they'll come back next year.
Yeah, we'll talk next year.
Next year, next month.
Madam Chair? Yeah, right. Madam Chair?
Page 78.
Yes. Can I just throw a comment out there?
I don't know. Yes.
I just want to mention that, when we throw around that, YouTube and the other manners in which people can attend these meetings,
Yes.
right? Everyone doesn't have firm internet or the ability to tune into YouTube or however we so choose to share the information. We are living in times when it's either pay for rent or your food, and it certainly isn't going to be in purchasing internet and all of the equipment that's necessary to tune into a meeting that otherwise they could attend in person, which I would like to see more people attend. However, again, fuel is expensive, and so the other option with YouTube is there. But it's a tough one, right, in order to have everyone involved. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much for that. Okay, we are on page 78, and we have a motion there about appointment of a personnel member. I need somebody to move the motion. Councilor Agenbayer?
I move that municipal council appoint Yerrick Hallett
Yes.
as development officer for the municipality of the county of Annapolis to administer the municipality's land use bylaws and subdivision bylaw.
Seconder? Councilor Harding? Okay, questions or comments? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. I just want to point out the fact that this is a replacement person. So, sure, Ms. Bent will explain, but it was someone departed, someone came in, so this is a replacement. I know that personally I get, every time we appoint someone, I get questions of why do we need so many, but it's replacement people, and as well as, I was wondering, ma'am, if we could have a explanation of this actual role, the fact that it's someone in the building department, that they need this authority to sign things. It's just, we don't have people that are really in that title, and that's all they do. I just wanted some clarification on that.
Thank you. Madame, Ben?
Certainly. So it actually falls into the planning department, not the building inspection
Sorry,
department.
that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And it falls under a regulatory role from the Municipal Government Act that says if you have a subdivision bylaw and land use bylaws, you must appoint a development officer to administer those on council's behalf.
Yeah. So I see this as a secondary duty, but we have to appoint them so they have the authority to sign these things, right?
In this case, for this particular staff person, it is their primary duty, and they must be appointed.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other, yes, Councillor Aguilar?
Yes, it makes reference to others in that role as well. Excuse me, so are there other people that are already assigned to that role?
Yes, absolutely.
And how many are there?
Well, in a few minutes, there'll be 4 of us in total if it...
So you're one of them?
I am one of them, yes.
Or 4?
4. There will be, yes.
Okay. And they're all currently on staff, obviously?
Absolutely, and it forms part of their job description that they have already in place.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I did that.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
No? Approved. Page 80. We need a counselor to read the motion. Any volunteers? Counselor Sullivan?
I motion that municipal council appoint Jeremy Banks as development officer for the municipality of the county of Annapolis to administer the municipality's land use bylaws and subdivision bylaw.
Thank you. Seconder? Counselor Harding? Questions or comments? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. I just have another point for clarification, only because I hang out around this building a lot now. This is not a new position. It's filling a vacant position that we had. So I know that we had questions about, are we developing more positions? This is a vacant position that is now filled. I'm correct.
Okay, just to clarify.
Yes.
Mr. Banks has been hired as a planner, which was a vacant position.
Yes.
And so development officer is just another title.
Secondary, yeah.
So no different than we hire building inspectors, but we also appoint them as fire inspectors. So we're not
Exactly.
hiring extra people.
Yeah.
Same person, they just have multiple duties
exactly.
according to
Yes.
legislation.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Well,
Yes?
thank you. I really appreciate that last little sharing there. That was a vital piece of information, right? Because it does originally look like a new job or a new, but it's not. It's in the text, right?
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passed. Okay, we are on page 82. Approval of policy 128, travel and expenses. Deputy Warden?
Thank you. I move that municipal council approve policy 128, travel and expenses as circulated 7-day notice.
Seconder? Councillor Walsh? Walsh? Comments? Questions? Deputy Warden?
Because I hang out here,
We're not gonna let you really They're gonna bolt the doors soon.
So, I believe I had a discussion with the CAO about some wording.
Yes.
And I was wondering if that was actually changed. If we go to page 85, under expense claims. So for 15, we talked about, it should read, travel claims for counselors/CAO, except for the warden, are subject to the approval by the warden/designate,
Yes.
or designate. As well as on, I think that was it.
For that page, yes.
For that page. And then for the second, so on page 87, under 29, or sorry, under 30,
Yes.
there was a discussion around the actual length. For 6 months to say 3 months, to match the quarterly that's above.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I know,
I can't vote for
some people might not.
You have to recuse yourself.
Conflict of interest, yeah. But by changing 30 to 3 months, it actually follows along with 29.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Okay, so we have 2 amendments.
Not a,
One, the first one is not really,
the first one is straightforward.
yes,
Yeah.
that can be unanimously approved.
The second one caused me a little heartburn because if all members of council and CA are required to report their expenditures on a quarterly basis. So after 90 days, you might start collecting your receipts and it might be 100 days, and this says, well, after 90 days, you can't claim it anymore. So the 6 months, or at least 4 months or 5 months would be more appropriate if council's worried about it.
Okay.
Because if you, for instance, started claiming receipts now, if you had meetings last week,
Yeah.
after this 90 days is up, if you take a week or 2 to do your claim, you won't be able to claim that first week because you're past the 90 days. So that caused me a little heartburn.
So my thought process on the 3, but it's just because to match the top, but being on the audit committee, and hopefully we'll have in the future nice financial reports every quarterly, that it's nice for reconciling the finances if things were done in a timely manner. I know that I come from a very strict environment where I used to work, where, you had this amount of time or your claim did not get paid. I'm not saying to put that in effect here because some people would never get their money. I just thought 3 that matched the thing, but it's up to everyone else. That was just my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Agravine.
I agree to the 3 because, in what circumstance, maybe somebody can explain this to me, would it take somebody 3 months to get a receipt? That's a question, I guess.
It's not about getting receipts, about filing your claim.
Exactly.
We've had some in the past that might be 9 months, 10 months before they file.
Well, that's ridiculous. As far as I'm concerned, it should be 3 months, not 4 or 5 or 6.
Okay.
That's your opinion.
Thank you. And I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from anybody else? Councilor Wells?
Are we discussing that it would align with the quarters? Or that if I submit it today and then in 3 months, like somewhere, and then I submit in another month, I get another 3-month buffer?
No, so
It would run with the quarter?
Okay.
Not based on the wording, it's just every
No,
now
that's
and
what I'm
then.
wondering, yeah. So if I'm good, like I'm really good for like months in a row, and then I miss a couple months, and then I submit, it starts over again, my 3-month period would start over. Yeah, okay.
More or less, yes.
Yeah, okay.
You miss one, then you go to the next one. Okay, and this is this for staff as well as counselors? Let me look at this for a second.
Yes.
Staff as well as counselors. Okay. All right.
So it's not a motion, so I'd like to see it be
You-
left at 6 months.
You want it to be left at 6 months?
Thought it was a motion.
Okay, so.
It says counselors, it doesn't say anything about staff.
No, it's just a broad, it just says claims shall not be paid for expenses. It's kind of broad. I presume that is what it was for, Madame Campbell? means both counselors
So this
and...
policy applies to both staff and council?
Yeah.
But in circumstances where a particular section applies only to counselors, it designates that it applies only to counselors. If it applies only to staff, it designates that it applies only to staff. And I just want to make sure everybody noticed I put cannabis in, right?
I did notice that.
We read that.
Okay, we don't have a motion to change that on the floor. We just have a discussion on it. Counselor, the deputy warden.
I'd like to put a motion on the floor to amend. In the policy, section 30, to read, claims shall not be paid for expenditures occurring more than 3 months in past.
Seconder,
Second.
Cranston. Counselor Cranston. Questions or comments? None? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes. Does
Four?
everybody know the
1,
motion?
2, 3, 4? For the 3 months, changing 6 to 3. All opposed, say no.
No.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the motion is defeated.
And if staff would like me to, they gotta remind me, that's all they have to do. It doesn't have to do anything with the motion. I'm a big boy.
So it's
Yes,
changed at
Counselor.
6?
Okay, before we go before, page 84, there's just a slight error in time, is all I wish to see corrected. At number 5, down the bottom, for Remembrance Day, capitalize to Remembrance Day, and that's all in case you forget it there. Okay, that's it for that.
Got to vote on the motion.
Yes. Okay, we're going on the original motion on page 80. All in favor signify by, no, sorry. 82, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Clarification?
Yes.
Yes,
Clarification?
yes.
So there was a change to the motion. It wasn't made as a motion, but it was a change to the verbiage by Deputy Warden Inslow on 15 on page 85 to add /CAL. So does that stand?
Yes, it was just cleaning it up.
So how does it actually read now?
It will read, travel expenses for counselors and CAO, except the warden, are subject to approval by the warden or designate. Similar to number 16.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that before the vote.
Page 85, number 15, is that the one you're looking at?
Approved by the province.
Okay.
You're good? Okay, any other clarification needed? Okay, page 82, motion. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion passed. Okay.
It's just telling you to get the province's ban now.
95? 106? 106.
Right, so that's a repeal.
Pardon?
Madam,
Okay. Yes, sir.
it's 12:04. Are we gonna go through the rest of it?
We
And what have we
have,
got coming after lunch?
that's the thing.
We have a meeting at 12:30.
And
Whoa.
We have,
We have lunch outside, I can smell it, so. If we continue to 12:30, then we can have lunch while we meet, when we have our next meeting at 12:30.
okay, sounds good, lunch is provided.
Just checking on
Perfect.
that.
It was a secret.
I guess,
It was a
I can
surprise.
smell, but I thought maybe Chris had dinner on for you.
Must be surprised. Okay,
It was planned long ago.
Sweet.
Oh, a really long time ago, right?
I already got my expense form filled out for lunch today.
Doesn't mean you're gonna submit it.
All right, we gotta get it done. Counselor?
Do we have to vote on the repeal, or is that part of the motion?
That's part of the motion.
That's part of the
Thank you.
Okay, page 106, I need, it's about the ad hoc committee. I need somebody to read the motion. Counselor Welsh?
I move municipal council approve the terms of reference for the glyphosate ad hoc committee.
Seconder? Counselor Hardy? Questions or comments on this ad hoc committee? No questions? No comments? Well, I'm gonna say, well, I have one. Counselor Hare?
I just see one of the alternatives,
Page?
107.
Thank you.
I mean, we approve the terms of reference, make changes, or we choose not to establish the ad hoc committee. This was before my time, but I just remember somebody saying, forgive me if I'm wrong, but somebody saying this issue arose when they were spraying glyphosate over a water area close to a watershed. That's kind of where this issue arose, and that has since been remediated. Do people still feel the need that there is a need for this committee?
That's the question.
Because if it were me, I just don't see the need for the committee at this point. So,
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Councilor Mike?
Thank you. I don't think it was just because of a water source. I believe it came about because of concerns, be it citizens, particular groups in our communities who genuinely see the use of such caustic chemicals as interfering with one's health and livestock and interrupting potential water sources. There's a lot to take into consideration with it. I'm not going to elaborate on it, but cancer and other diseases and disorders are on the rise, and I would like to think that we would think more about our citizens and listen to their concerns, and this is just another one of these committees that will give them a chance, or give us a chance, to bring it, some more information to light. Thank you.
Councilor Hagenbar?
Right. Couple things. Page 106. I read this a couple days ago and I made some highlights. And I'm just trying to remember why I did it, but anyway. So it says the proposed terms of reference follow up on a motion, and that's not what I want to talk about. Oh, sorry, page 107.
Okay.
Alternatives. Where it reads, the committee of the whole can choose to not establish this ad hoc committee as it is outside the municipality's mandate and legislative authority. And then I wrote, my note was confused. See next page, where if you see authority, the paragraph states, I won't read it all, but if you go down through permission of the Council of Municipality of the County of Annapolis on January 21st, 2025, Council's authority for this committee is established through sections 9A and 24 of the Municipal Government Act. So is that a conflict, or am I just reading it wrong?
Okay, I will let our CEO...
Just the sections of the MGA says council has the authority to establish committees.
Yes.
So that's
Period.
what you're doing. The other part of it is, you can establish a committee, but you have no legal jurisdiction to get involved with federal legislation, which is what glyphosate is. It's federally regulated.
Right.
So you have the ability to establish committees, but you also have no legal jurisdiction to impact other than through particular advocacy, and I assume this committee would just do advocacy work.
Yes.
So if we were to choose that particular one, we would be defeating the motion. The alternative.
I'm not sure.
I don't know what, please explain a little more in there, Councilor?
We can pass the motion?
If we pass the motion,
If you pass the motion, you'll establish the terms of reference, you'll go through and have your committee, yes.
yeah.
If
But if you don't choose that, if you choose option 3, which is to not establish it, then you just don't have a committee.
Right.
Exactly.
You don't back the motion, yeah, okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. You're welcome. Counselor, Deputy
all
Warden,
good.
sorry.
Thank you.
Right back.
So, he beat me to the punch on some of it. So that was my question was, I want to know exactly what our authority was, because I remember when this came to the floor during the last council, because it started out as we just wanted council to write a letter as an advocate, basically, at the time. And then the discussion came up again to start up an ad hoc committee. So my question is, that's already been answered, is do we even have authority to do anything? And I know people question, well, people do things all the time that don't have authority. You're just, getting the heat and light. However, with this committee, they already did a lot of the work prior to, for sure. But there's still more work that needs to be done. But also within the diverse area that we live in, I know that I've done a lot of reading up on this stuff, and not as much as any type of professional. But it's just not the forestry industry that uses this. The farmers use this as well. So if we move forward with this and say, okay, we don't want anything to do with it, then that's a bigger conversation than just forestry. Then it would be discussion with farmers and things like that. So I just wonder, since we don't have the authority, what should we actually really do? I believe that when the situation arises and we deal with it when it comes to spraying certain areas, then I feel that we're well within our right to submit a letter saying, Minister, we don't really agree, can you please do something? But I just wonder what the true effectiveness of this is. Like, I'm supportive of doing whatever we can to support our community, our citizens, our environment, but I just don't want us to do something that we're just going to run in circles. Because I do believe that it's an important topic that needs to be discussed, but it's a lot higher level than what I am. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Connell, followed by Councillor Welch.
We had established a committee prior. I was on that committee, and we got a lot of information to try to educate the people on it. We made a motion for not to use it on our own county-owned properties, to lead by example. But if re-establishing the same committee, if they think they're going to come back with new info, then I don't have no issue with it. If somebody wants to spend all the time, because we spent lots of time on it, we got lots of information, and we talked to farmers that use it, and it's not our jurisdiction. So, but I don't have no issue if a group wants to get together and form an ad hoc committee and somebody wants to sit on that and bring the info and maybe some new info. I myself spray Roundup. I still spray it. If you do it with the proper gear, it's no different than inhaling other chemicals in the workforce. If you use the proper gear and do it correctly, you're hoping you're alleviating the effects that it could cause you. Aerial spraying, I think, is one of the big things that was the heat of a topic in our county. Again, we have lobbied the provincial government over the years and the federal government on that legislation and permits, but they still do it. They listened to the few things that we had to say, and they did oversight on their behalf. They didn't even read our water protection thing and realize they'd given a permit within our water protection. So we brought that to their attention. So I'm not against a committee, and if a committee wants to form and put effort into it, good for them. But I already sat on it. We gathered a lot of information. I'm like the deputy warden, when something comes up that arouses us and puts our hair up on our backs, we definitely can lobby. So the committee really isn't going to achieve anything to do with that.
Council.
It's the education part. I mean, if the committee feels they can bring education, and not put out there that the public thinks the committee can do anything, because the committee can't.
Right. Thank you.
We've been there.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Councillor. Councillor Welch?
I think glyphosate's been used for a long time in the valley, but not aerially. I think that's where the issue is. It's not the terrestrial application of it, like using it around your house or something like that. It's the aerial spray, it's the indirect. We all live downstream from it. It's all going to come to us sooner or later one way. And I think having, even though it's outside of our mandate, we can still educate ourselves around it. And I think that's really important, so that we can share that with the public.
Okay, thank you so much there. I thought I had seen another hand. Maybe I didn't.
It was mine again.
Maybe I didn't. Okay, Councilor Longmire?
One last time. Okay, so it did originate with the whole aerial spraying, right? But we do know that farmers use glyphosate products. We know that. And they will say that they need that. I guess this committee now, with new terms of references, will have a chance to gather more information. It's always about being aware of new and, new change, new science, let's call it. I've heard around the room that, if something pops up, that we can always, intervene or write a letter. In my world, that's called being reactive. I would rather be proactive. And like Councillor Welch said, eventually it's going to roll downhill and it's going to be your problem. And, food is burdened by these chemicals, and no, we can't change everything. I just want awareness. I just want more education, more opportunity. I loved the word that our CAO used, advocacy. This is about being that advocate. And so for that, it really is important for me to recognize that the people who shared their concerns about glyphosate spraying, whether it's aerial or whether it's you using it on your own land, that land might be purchased again someday by someone else, and the burden is already there. I'd like an opportunity to see this committee be established again and see what new information we can gain insight from. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Yes, Councillor Hare?
I just echo the fact that where our authority lies around glyphosate and just the need in general for it. I guess the only thing is, if you had the committee and you had more information because of the committee, I guess it would make for a better letter. So I guess there's that one side of it. The only thing I'll point out too is we're going to have, in the membership, there's 3 representatives from businesses. I just like to recognize that we're going to have to take the time of those businesses for somebody, from a member of them businesses, to come in here during these committees. So time is everything, especially the forestry business. I know the guys in there are already busier than hell, and if they have to take time out of their work schedule to defend what they might feel as defending their livelihood. Same thing with agriculture. It's just time consuming, but there's lots of members and workers in all these businesses, so just my piece.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Hare. And Councillor Aguilar, you're going to wrap it up?
One last point.
Okay.
Basically, the motion is that we approve the terms of reference, which also includes forming the committee and who makes up the committee.
Yeah.
But what's relevant in my mind as well is two things. First of all, this is such an important issue in our area, as it is everywhere, that we can't allow it to just go under the rug and not be monitored at least, right? So not only does it do that, but it also behooves the committee to report back to this council. So if there's ever any action that we can take as a council, how are we going to know about it if there isn't a committee or the specific terms of reference to go by? So I think it's important that we move along with this motion. Thank you.
Okay. Now, any other comments? Questions? No. Okay. On the motion, all in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passed. So we need to,
May I suggest we recess council and take a break, have some food, and council will meet prior to the PMP.
okay. Thank you very much. We will recess now till later. Whenever they
Well, they're all up in the talking.
Ben, am I good? Oh, perfect.